Hi there, my name is Tuomas, and in this video I will teach you how to build the best possible birdhouse that you can ever build that will last for several decades. All these tips in this video are tips that you can use with no matter where you live, in which continent or which birdhouses you are building for which species. That doesn't matter. So these are universal, and that is why I'm not giving in this video any measurements or not showing what tools to use, because everybody has different tools, and I've done birdhouses with hand tools and big machines and all kinds of different tools, and you can do these things with any type of tools that you have or whatever species you're building your birdhouse. So I've built birdhouses for over 20 years. I did the first one in elementary school, and that one is still over there. It's in that, actually in that tree behind me, that spruce over there somewhere. So these things will last for a long time if you build them properly. There are a lot of great instructions on internet how to build, you know, decent birdhouse design wise for people, but not necessarily for its actual main purpose, which is to have a home for the bird to nest. So the birdhouses on my right over here are old ones made 10-15 years ago by me, and the ones on the left over here, Hugo, hey, let the camera be. The ones, okay, where did you leave your stick? Hey, over here, look. The ones on my left are brand new ones, made just recently by me. So the materials, ideally you're gonna want to build your birdhouse out of plywood, not completely, but the roof and the wall at the back and the side walls, plywood, and about 20 millimeters is probably the most ideal thickness, because it's very easy to work with. This plywood over here is about 10 millimeters, so this was recycled plywood, which is why I have this. The advantage of a little bit thinner plywood is that it's more lightweight, so that comes really handy in bigger birdhouses like these over here. But it's very hard to work with a 10 millimeter plywood, because it you need to be very accurate with the screws so that you don't mess up the thing. But really the only thing that has to be done out of just raw plank wood, and it really has to be done, is the front wall over here with the hole where the bird gets in. And that is why, or the reason is that the little birds, when they are born and when they, you know, get out, they need to have a softer wood over here so that they can grab their you know, feet in this. So if it's done out of hard wood, plywood, then they won't necessarily get out, and that is a really big bummer. And also it is recommended that the bottom is made of just a raw wood, but otherwise plywood is the best material. You can use both nails or screws. I prefer screws because they are a lot easier to replace, and if you use screws you can also replace very easily different parts of the birdhouse if needed. For example, the front wall sometimes tends to rip apart because of moisture and different seasons of the year. So for example, this particular front element of this birdhouse is very easy to replace if needed, because it has only 5 screws over here. So again, the materials: raw wood in the bottom and the front, just, you know, raw plank wood, no paint, nothing, and then plywood on the sides, roof, and at the back. Screws or nails, doesn't really matter. If you're working with plywood, screws are probably a lot easier, and if you are using screws, pre-drill a hole or holes for the screws to both of the elements, the one that it goes through and to the one that it is attached. So it just makes your life a lot easier, and you will prevent you know, these tearings a lot more. And about the roof, whoa, sometimes you see the roof being done like this, so that this longer part is over here, and the tree would be over here, and the hole for the bird would be over here. But that's not actually as good, because the water, the rain and stuff like that goes over here and then it goes to the back and it rottens the back part very easily. So that is why there is this angle, and the best angle is a little bit to the front, so that all the rain and snow and stuff like that drips out of the birdhouse. And these are all actually the new ones, missing still a little element at the back. So if you add a few pieces of wood, they can be any type of wood, doesn't really matter. I just used some leftover plywood over here to the back, which separates the actual birdhouse from a tree. Then you will get a lot longer life to it, because if the birdhouse, this wood over here would be right next to the tree, it will get rotten a lot faster. So that is something you maybe want to keep in mind. You can use either just blank raw wood over here at the behind, or plywood, or whatever. It doesn't really matter. There are many ways to attach your roof to the birdhouse. I used for the very first time hinges, little hinges on these ones, and they seem to work really well, but I'm still working on something that would keep this thing a little tighter over here, because if it's like this, a squirrel will get inside very easily just pushing this thing, because it's so lightweight. So a few ways you can work around this. If you do use hinges like I did over here, you can add a more heavier wood inside, sized of this hole over here. You can add it over there, and then that will be a counterweight. Or you can use iron wire around the whole birdhouse or somewhere around here to attach this. Or if you do not like to use hinges, you can just screw the roof over here, and then you can just screw it, take the screw off if you need to open it and stuff like that. But there are many ways to attach the roof on the birdhouse. It doesn't really matter which way you use, they all work really fine. The most important part just is that the roof is big enough from every side, and the water drips off. And then a little tip about the hole for the bird. A lot of times people drill them just straight forward. That's not actually the best way. The best way is to drill it in an angle kind of like this, like my hand. So maybe you can see, but there is actually like a little climb inside. So there's this angle, maybe, I don't know, maybe about 10 degrees or something. So just a little angle, so that if moisture or rain somehow gets over here, it doesn't so easily get in, and the angle just makes it drip this way. So don't make the angle the wrong way. That's not good. So not this way, but drill it like this, so you will get this angle that is, if you imagine water coming from here, it drips off. So that's a really good tip to remember. And then the flying hole you want to use if you are building birdhouses with a small hole. You want to use some kind of plate, metal plate, galvanized or aluminium plate, which has a hole a little bit bigger than the hole in the wood itself, in the wall, so that the bird doesn't damage its wings or feathers. And the whole plate is for preventing squirrels and woodpeckers getting inside the birdhouse and eating the little birdies. So that's something you want to keep in mind. It's not like a must, but it's depending on the area where you are putting it, it will give longevity for it. Some people do birdhouses so that the bottom is actually removable, but that's not really good. I wouldn't recommend anybody doing that. Always make the roof the one where you clean the birdhouse, and the roof, to be the removable part. And why? Well, if you make the bottom removable, there is a very good chance that at some point it will fall out. And also, if you are doing cleaning to the birdhouse, let's say for example in the springtime. This actually happened to me a few years back. I was cleaning up birdhouses and one of them had a removable bottom, and it was late winter, almost springish, this time of the year around about. So I removed the bottom and this huge nest came out, and in this nest there were 2 or 3 squirrel babies, little squirrel babies with no hair, nothing. And I didn't know that it was already in use. I had checked the birdhouse many times, many days already, and you know, there was no movement, nothing. So I was just, you know, completely sure that nobody was using it. And it wasn't even like really springtime yet. There was still snow all over the place. So anyway, nothing happened to those babies. I was able to, you know, get them back inside and get the birdhouse very fastly back to the tree, and everything was okay. But still, this might happen to you as well if you do a birdhouse like that. So that's why it's a lot better just to have the, you know, the roof removable, so you can always just check before you know, take anything out that it's just not in use. And then the hanging, not hanging of a person, but hanging the birdhouse, attaching it to a tree. I prefer to use galvanized metal chain, kind of like this one. This is probably the best one that you can use, very thick, or maybe you can use also a little bit you know, more lightweight. But I've found that this is the best one. It's so durable and it'll last for several decades. And like, these have been probably 10 years both in the trees outdoors, winter and summer, all throughout the year. And as you can see, they have very little rust. So they work really well. And just remember to have it long enough so that the tree won't so that it won't grow inside the tree as the tree grows. Then just a few words about birdhouses in general. I think building birdhouses is a really great exercise for anybody. It's not that difficult. In Finland there's this tradition of building birdhouses probably for like 200 years. We have a lot of experience in that, and expertise. Even in elementary schools we you know, make kids to build birdhouses. And I think also that it's a responsibility of a property or a landowner to either, you know, check if that forest or your land, whatever, has enough good rotten tree or trees for birds to nest in, you know, like in a natural way, or if not, like in, for example, in Finland, where we have a lot of forestry, you know, forests are being cut down and they are just basically being used as fields to grow trees for international use, to make paper and stuff like that. We don't really have rotten tree in our forests because everything is just so super efficiently produced to just, you know, make the most out of the forest for people. So I think it's the landowner's responsibility to then, in that, if that's the case, to make birdhouses for all kinds of species. And even if you're not a landowner, you can still, you know, make birdhouses and give them away, or, you know, make them, put them in different places. Just ask for, you know, permission for that. But still, I love birdhouses. It's so great to then see what birds take them and start to living them and all that. It's just so great. I'm right now working on some owl birdhouses. This is for Tengmalm's owl and an old one. And actually these birdhouses are for starlings, and then the little ones are for tits. This is for red starred, I think was the English name, and blackbird, and that's northern hawk owl slash this other hawk, which I don't remember the name. But anyway, right now I'm working on birdhouse for Ural owl. It's gonna be like at least two times big as this. And this summer I'm trying to search for places where I can hang these, all of these. So if you're interested to see about this project more, I'm gonna do a follow-up video to this whole birdhouse thing later, probably during summertime. So yeah, come to check that out if you're interested. And also it's very good to make a few spare roofs for the birdhouses while you're doing them. So the roof is another part of the birdhouse that will usually rot fastest. So changing the roof when it gets too bad, maybe like after 10 years or 15 years, whatever, it's, if you still remember where you have the spare roof, then it's just very easy to replace because you don't have to search for the materials or anything. So while you're doing them, make a few spare parts. It will maybe make your life easier if you remember where they are when you need them. I think that's it. Those are my main tips how to make a very good birdhouse, probably the best one out there. If you found this video useful, press the thumbs up button and hopefully we will see you again on the next video. Take care. Bye bye.